Good evening and welcome to the August 17th, 2023 meeting of the Johnson County Community College Board of Trustees. I'm Lee Cross and I invite you to join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for coming. The next item on our agenda is a roll call, and that yields that every trustee is present, along with our president, Dr. Bound. And then the next item is awards and recognition and a student spotlight, in which we are going to recognize Kinley Chapel. If you come to the podium, please.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Am I good to go? Okay.
Yes, please do so.
Growing up, my education was disrupted. I was raised in a broken home without the opportunity to have a traditional school experience. This had put me at a disadvantage for college in the future. Despite these challenges I had faced, 2 years ago, I had the chance to move in with a family here in Kansas. I got a GED within 6 months and was ready to start college in the fall. I knew that college could be a challenge, although a good challenge. When touring Johnson County Community College, one of the main things I noticed was the resources and community it offered. I was looking for a place where I could find support and encouragement. The Academic Resource Center offered me the support I would need. The smaller class sizes gave me the ability to get to know my professors on a more personal level, which offered me the guidance, encouragement, and support I needed. Lastly is community. This was my first year in college, and I wanted to dive in headfirst and be a part of everything JCCC had to offer. So I became a Student Life Ambassador and joined the Student Senate. This gave me the opportunity to make friends and have a community here at JCCC. I am grateful for everything I have learned and all that Johnson County Community College has done to help me succeed and grow as a person.
Thank you very much. Congratulations. Who has questions for Ms. Chapel? I see Trustee Smith.
Always. Thank you so much for being here. Can you tell us a little bit about your major?
Yeah, I am pursuing a major in nursing. So I'm currently getting my prerequisites with hopes to apply for the nursing program this December to start in the fall of 2024.
Fantastic. And then I have a question that I ask most students when I remember. What is belonging meant to you when you're here at JCCC? What does that feel like or mean to you?
To find my people, to be able to be myself and have friends. And the nice thing that has been a super cool thing here for me at Johnson County is if there's a bunch of us playing on the volleyball court and we see people walking by, we just all start hanging out together.
Very cool. Thank you so much.
I just want to say, Kinley, that you're a hero of mine because I am a big fan of our GED program. And I want us to capture more of our GED graduates. I know we try very hard and we offer 6 hours of free courses, but the fact that you have moved on and you're going to get your associate's degree and hopefully get into the nursing program is awesome. So those folks are close to my heart when you work that hard to get your GED. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Trustee Rattan.
You've overcome a lot of obstacles to get where you've arrived at now, and I think you have a long path ahead of you to succeed. What would you tell a student who is facing similar obstacles or isn't confident that they can do what you've done and accomplish what you've accomplished?
Make every challenge that you have really fun. I think that I'm a person that likes challenges, and even though that it's been hard, I've found a way to make it fun. And that's how I just find the motivation to keep going.
Thank you.
That's great.
Anybody else? Yes, Dr. Ben?
Just quick. Kinley, when you and I talked, we talked about people that have made a profound impact on you in your time here. Do you want to share any of that?
Yeah, so she's actually sitting right there. She was my first semester here. She was my math professor, and I was not the greatest at math, and I'm still not the greatest at math. But I remember my first class, I walked out there and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. Now, I started at elementary algebra, and I had went to her office and I asked her for help, and she told me, she said, I see that you want to do it, and she said, we're going to do it together. and she took her time to not only tutor me, but every other student in her class. And she never turned us away, and sometimes she would have 8 of us in there sitting around her desk learning how to do algebraic equations, and that was one of the best parts of my last 2 semesters. So I'm really grateful for that.
If I may, I missed, where are you from?
I'm from Louisiana originally.
Could not place your accent. Thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
And welcome. My mother was an LPN who graduated from the old Johnson County Technical School that we absorbed around 1995. Somebody could correct me. So that's exciting. Do you plan to go on and be an RN?
Yes, after I get my RN, I would like to get my bachelor's, and then from my bachelor's, I'm currently trying to decide if I'm going to go and get my master's or doctorate and be a nurse practitioner.
Right on. And then I got to tell you, in one of my favorite books, Charlie Wilson's War, the CIA operative Gus Avricados that assists Congressman Wilson, he used to say all the time, "There's no reason this can't be fun, you know." And so I admire that attitude, and I thank you for being here tonight. So. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you guys for having me.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Kinley. We'll see you next week.
Yes, sir. I'll see you next week.
She's so excited.
She is. It's a great attitude.
The next item on our agenda is the open forum section, and I believe we don't have anybody.
That's correct.
Nevertheless, I'll read this very quickly. The open forum section of the board agenda is the time for members of the community to provide comments to the board, and we do appreciate when you come. There will be one open forum period during each regularly scheduled board meeting. Comments are limited to 5 minutes unless a significant number of people plan to speak. In that instance, the chair may limit a person's comments to less than 5 minutes in order to accommodate everyone. In order to be recognized, individuals must register at the door at each board meeting prior to the open forum agenda. And when addressing the board, please, registered speakers are asked to remain at the podium, should be respectful and civil at all times, and are encouraged to address individual personnel or student matters directly with the appropriate college department. As a practice, the college does not respond in this setting when the matter concerns personnel or student issues or matters that are addressed through our established grievance or suggestion processes or are otherwise the subject of review by the college or board. I do believe, usually read it, they can register by Zoom when? Speakers wanting to make public comment must register
5 p.m. the day before,
the day before. Okay, or 5 minutes prior if they appear in person.
15 minutes if they.
15 minutes, excuse me. At any rate, we thank you in your understanding of this, and I'll move on. Unless somebody thinks I missed something. Yes, sir.
Should we announce here that there will be no more Zoom participation when we move into our new space? So that if somebody has a public comment, they can send it in writing or they can show up.
Yes, I believe we'll have call-in opportunity for trustees. Is that right?
Yes.
And then that the
All
meetings.
count will be in person.
This is how we used to do it, right? We used to publish it post hoc. So we would record it and then throw it up on YouTube, I believe. So certainly it's an open meeting and people can come here to participate.
Yes.
But we have to move over to, what's it?
WCMT 111, starting with the September 6th committee meetings will take place in the temporary space in the WCMT building, which is, for us here on campus, it's across the courtyard, pretty much directly from this building. And so we will be there from the month of September to, if we're conservative with the estimate, it could be May before we're back in this space. So we're going to say that's the window as for now, and we'll be operating out of that temporary space. And we'll about double the capacity from an audience seating standpoint to make it readily available.
And so thank you to you and your administration and everyone that makes this work electronically and at the new place. So
We've worked hard.
thank you for bringing it up, Trustee Musil. The next item on our agenda is the board reports section, and the first report will be by our college lobbyist, the gentleman from Shawnee County, Mr. Dick Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not sure which county I'm in today. Just like the school year is about to begin at JCCC, we just completed moving in our oldest for his second year of college in Pennsylvania. So thank you for allowing me to participate electronically and virtually today.
You're welcome.
We are still in the slow part of summer where a lot of the committee work has not begun for the fall, which will transition into reports that become legislation next year in January. So this report will likely be fairly brief, and will keep you about moving your business on through the agenda. After all the adjustments in the budget and expected receipts from November 22 and in April of 23, the new laws going into effect just in July, receipts still beat estimates by about 13.9 million. And again, folks that make those projections do so that they can have as close to a real number as possible for what the state expects to take in from various revenue sources. And that's how they build the budgets. And that's one of the reasons why I always start reports with this very item. Again, that will play a strong role into what tax policy looks like as the legislature continues to have those discussions this fall and moving into January of 2024. The tax committee doesn't have dates yet scheduled on the calendar. They do plan to meet 2 times yet this year and develop their report. But there are other things that are getting ready to happen that also will help shape what some of those conversations even look like. The Legislative Budget Committee, which is essentially made up of the appropriators, will meet next week on the 22nd. Some of the conversation that we'll pick up at that particular hearing will give us a first sense of what we might expect things to look like next year, not only as the legislature continues to develop its version of the budget, but how they plan to either spend or reduce, or where they plan to spend or reduce. Some of those first salvos we'll begin to see next week. That committee will meet a couple of more times throughout the course of the fall, and they won't have their final report until later on in December. Groups like the Kansas Chamber, groups like AFP, they are starting to have their conversations and about tax discussions, which will become their legislative initiatives. And again, that puts us in a position where we're responding to what those proposals look like. Those conversations and those meetings are beginning to take off right now, right about this time of year. And then finally, and I'm not covering everything that was included in the report, but I do want to close with a little bit about what the national sentiment is with regard to local governing bodies. And there's a strong movement to have conversations to reduce local authority. And it's not just here in Kansas. We're seeing this play out across the United States. And so I closed my formal report with the piece about what does a plastic bag ban in Lawrence, Kansas mean to Johnson County Community College? Aside from any environmental aspect of what plastic bags mean, this really is an issue of local control and allowing those that are elected to make the decisions that they deem best for the body in which they oversee. And so that will really have an impact. That issue in and of itself, which is separate from a lot of what we deal with at the college, will have a large impact on how we move through that conversation next session with regard to local control. Will there be a major impact at the community college level? It's hard to say, but again, depending on how those definitions are worded in various legislative proposals, lots of times we fall under the listing of a local governing body as a division, an extension of the state, whether it's through the county level, or just by the very definition in which the bill is written. So I offer that as just something that we need to be making sure that we're watching. I think we can fully anticipate seeing something in the form of a proposal of a statewide mill levy. Once again, that is an erosion of the control that you have at this college to set and approve budgets that are deemed best for the college at Johnson County Community College. So, Mr. Chair, that leaves you something to think about, and I'll stop there and see if there's any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. Any questions for Mr. Carter? Trustee Ingram.
Yes, Mr. Carter, thank you very much. I know one of the things that I believe I have mentioned publicly to this board was mentioned at one of the meetings of KACC, and I believe it was our meeting in May, June. And it was going ahead and trying to meet with our local legislative group now. Do you think that there is some reason to really respond to that comment and to do that as opposed to waiting until later in the year?
Yeah, no, I think that we will be working on those types of meetings throughout the fall, especially with those that are in leadership that are in Johnson County, but maybe even some that don't reside in Johnson County that have leadership positions in the legislature. And Kate Allen and I have been having those conversations about what does our scheduling look like and when do we want to do that. Some of those meetings might not take place on campus, but to the best of our ability, we're wanting to get folks on campus so that they can see the facilities.
Sure. And I think I was just referring in particular to the meeting that would include this group, we usually meet in December, a little bit later. If there was a reason to really begin those meetings earlier that would include our own board members.
We're happy to orchestrate them in that manner as well.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Carter?
Just
Yes,
a
sir.
comment that what Dick pointed out, we've talked forever about local control here, and sometimes that gets us in trouble because sometimes we want certain things from the legislature, but if we don't stick to that as thoroughly as possible, we will lose control of curriculum, funding, hiring, all of the things that Johnson County citizens have come to appreciate and that I think have helped build this college. So
In this
we got to
county?
keep doing that.
I thank you for saying it, and I may have to be the one saying it after you leave, but I thank you for articulating. Any other comments for Mr. Carter? Dick, thank you. Good luck getting home.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The next item on our agenda is a report from the Faculty Association by Professor Dr. Andrea View. And I know you've submitted your comments here tonight. Thank you.
Yes, and I should warn you, they have changed. Sorry, not by a lot, but there are some changes. So I do apologize that what you have there isn't exactly what I'm going to say at this moment, word for word at least.
We don't have it though, right? Is that just
That's correct, yeah.
purview of the chair?
I appreciate your submission, and I think you know that I'm an ally in what you put in there with respect to inflation and how it impacts faculty. So I thank you for raising the issue, and I'll let you speak now.
Thank you. So yes, my name is Andrea View, and I am the president of the Faculty Association here at Johnson County Community College. This week is PLD week, so the JCCC faculty have been busy getting ready for classes and attending a lot of sessions, things such as AI in teaching, the Plan My Classes tool, kind of how to use active learning classrooms, and also other relevant topics. Today, the faculty had their all-faculty meeting and got to ask questions of our new CAO and provost, and that was pretty well received by the faculty. It was well attended, and faculty appreciated getting to hear from Drs. Singh and McLeod, and also kind of get to know what to expect from them, what to know about their new roles, and then kind of what about the college overall and what's happening at the college. I think I can also say the same thing about the campus updates meeting on Wednesday and then the president's address that was on Tuesday. Overall, I think employees really do enjoy being able to learn about where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. And then also we always like asking questions, so it's like there's always questions. One thing I do want to go ahead and plug, though, is tomorrow at 1 p.m. in Yardley Hall, we have our closing keynote address that has been kind of, the faculty development has kind of been working on planning all these events. And so we have a really neat keynote address tomorrow called How JCCC Can Thrive in the Future of Higher Education with Dr. Bridget Burns. So again, that is at 1 p.m. tomorrow in Yardley Hall. It's the closing keynote for our PLD week. So I know that, we'd all like to see some good attendance in that, and it's going to be a face-to-face event, so just wanted to encourage folks to come if they were available. I'd also like to share that the JCCC Faculty Association and the League of Women Voters of Johnson County are sponsoring a forum with the candidates running for the position of JCCC trustee. All of the candidates for trustee were invited. Sorry, I had to get that out correctly. This forum is in the MTC Polsky Theater on Monday, August 28th at 7 p.m. It will not be live streamed, but it will be recorded and put on the YouTube. On YouTube, excuse me, I'm sorry. There are some pre-written questions, and there will also be a chance for audience members to ask questions real time at the forum. So we do encourage people to come. It's for everybody. As we know, all Johnson County registered voters vote in the trustees elections. So we certainly encourage community members to come. We encourage staff and faculty and employees and administrators and everybody. So everybody's welcome. And just to repeat that, it's Monday, August 28th at 7 p.m. Moving on, I do still want to say a bit about the cost of living in the metro area. As we know, inflation has been a thing, obviously nationwide and certainly locally as well. According to the U.S. inflation calculator, average inflation in 2021 was 4.7%. In 2022, it was 8%. And this year so far, it has averaged 4.6%. Based on the Bureau of Labor Statistics Consumer Price Index information for the Midwest, much of these increases are related to food and lodging. So food has increased about 5% and lodging about 7%. And then as we know, obviously, we are all here. So housing values and rents have very much increased here, which certainly is something that everybody has to deal with, right? In the big picture, the cost of living in this county is high, and inflation has outpaced wage increases. So the big question is can employees afford to live in this county? Can we continue to recruit the best employees and continue to provide the high quality of education that this community comes to expect from us? As a voting and property tax paying resident of this county, I can understand why the board is concerned about property taxes. You are the stewards in your role as this board, you are the stewards of this county, and you have to think about what the community needs are. I would just say, as you think about those, you also think about the quality of education that people in this county expect from this institution, and weigh those. Those are both valuable things to be weighing as you're thinking about things moving forward. So basically, being a good steward means thinking about the big picture of the college and its operations, not just in terms of the tax burden, but also in terms of the services that we provide to the community. I also understand that there have been some less than ideal costs, and I'm not, whatever those are, I don't need to get into rehash that for you. But I will say that faculty haven't been responsible for those. So while I do understand that there are some financial considerations y'all have to make, just do keep in mind that employees are a key part of the working of this college. We are important components. Now I would actually like to move to faculty voice and how we can ensure faculty and other employees are able to participate in governance processes. Of immediate interest are the board's committees. Faculty and certainly plenty of other people can attend board committee days. We do not actually have a voice in those committee meetings. Administrators certainly do. We have staff doing presentations in those board committee meetings, but what we do not have is faculty. So what I would like to pose to you is, where can we ensure that we're getting faculty insights? I believe it was said in one of the committee meetings last time that sometimes in the peanut gallery people are hearing things and they wish they could participate. We're all sitting back there I guess we'll just sit and listen. Certainly faculty feel that way as well. So I would like, just to think about that. Administration and staff are part of the board committee processes, but faculty have been left out of that. Another area where I'd like to ensure we're heard is in classroom construction. In some cases, faculty have been involved in deliberations about active learning classrooms and the layout of classrooms. In other cases, they have been left out of those conversations. I was actually someone that has been included in some active learning classroom conversations, and I truly did appreciate being part of those conversations. My dean had looped us in because they affected our classes. And being in that room, we were able to point to some very critical items within that deliberation. So since we are the ones that understand how classrooms actually directly impact student learning and the learning process, I would just reiterate that we would love to be continuously involved in discussions about any kind of classroom renovations that are going on. The other thing that I would like to point out is just keeping faculty informed if their areas might be discontinued or if their areas are being looked at as a point of being discontinued. I think that there were some faculty that were caught off guard a little bit today by some of the areas that were noted, and they felt very concerned for their future because they had not been given a heads up before their areas were mentioned. So I just think, I don't think there was any ill intent by it. I think that people just kind of got caught off guard, and moving forward, it would be great if we were kept in the loop on some of those conversations. Now, I will actually share something fun. Anyway, Danny Alexander, a professor of English here at JCCC, recently edited a book titled Kick Out the Jams, which is a collection of music writer Dave Marsh's work. It has also been published by Simon & Schuster, Professor Alexander and others recently celebrated the book's release at the Warwick in Kansas City, using the release party to celebrate Marsh's vision and Marsh's role in the work here in Kansas City, ranging from anti-censorship struggles to all manner of human rights issues and the diverse spectrum of basic needs issues that face both the artist and the audience. This anthology has received really rave reviews from Billboard magazine, Slate magazine, and musicians such as Jackson Browne, Patty Griffin, Tom Morello, Bruce Springsteen, and Stephen Van Zandt. So Professor Alexander is actually a really good example of the type of faculty member we have here. Someone who is a great teacher, loved by their students, really well respected in the academic community and by their peers. I do also want to say, I didn't put it in the report, but our faculty association annual come back to work, or whatever we want to call that, welcome back week, or I don't know. We're having a party. It's tomorrow night at Quivira Falls Clubhouse. The food arrives at 5, and you are definitely all invited. I know some of you have come in the past, and we really do love a chance to get to engage with people in kind of like a less formal setting, and I'll stop talking.
Thank you very much, Professor View. Any questions, comments for Dr.
I have one really tough question for Andrea, and it goes back to, I'm going to continue to do this until I leave. PLD stands for what? And what do you do during that?
Learning Days.
I mean, I know, I was worried about who's watching this.
I should have actually said it first and then done the abbreviation. Professional Learning Days.
So the week is dedicated to?
Right, so faculty development basically plans out an entire week of programming where they have some set things, for example, the president's address or the all-faculty meeting or the all-staff meeting, and then folks around the college are able to submit sessions that they would like to hold. So I know there were several sessions on AI because that's been something that's, I've talked about it here before with y'all. People are very concerned about it. So people around the college are able to do their own. I know there was an Alice training one. I said the plan my classes. I mean, it's just every day, if you look at the PLD calendar, there's just something going on. So whether you're faculty or your staff, there's actually sessions probably for everybody.
Thank you. And I want to thank faculty and staff for the attendance at Dr. Bound's address, because if people want to hear what's going on at the college, I have less sympathy for that if they don't show up at the one time each semester when the president gives some remarks about that. And it was a nice attendance, so I appreciate that from everybody. Thank you.
Yeah.
Trustee Melody Rail.
Thank you for your words. And all I wanted to say was, there's nothing that will prompt vigorous debate like taxation issues. I want to thank you for presenting your viewpoint and the viewpoint of your constituents in an articulated, non-argumentative way. I, for one, really appreciate that you're talking about the facts, how those facts affect you and the other faculty on the college campus. And I just wanted to thank you for the way in which you've presented your opinion. gosh, we may not always agree on things, but certainly vigorous debate is what makes important things happen. And so I wanted to thank you for that.
Thank you very much. And I will just say, Dr. McLeod and I presented earlier at the faculty meeting, and both of us spoke to civil discourse. So I think that's kind of what you're getting at there, and I appreciate your comments.
I will say, Trustee Smith.
I just wanted to make a really quick comment. Thank you for your presentation today. About the comment you made about faculty being more involved at this level. And it's a really tricky thing because when we go to our association and we go to our conferences, one of the recurring themes is noses in, fingers out at this level. And so we have to be really careful that there is a barrier because we're not to be managing the day-to-day. But I want you to know that that's why your role and the report you give to us is really critical because you are that voice. And if there are things you want us to know that we aren't going to know because we're not here day to day and we're not with the students and we're not in the facilities every day, that your voice is critical to that and to bringing that understanding to this level. And that's why we're really glad that you're here and that you're doing these reports because they help inform us. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you. And I think from a faculty perspective, one of the things that has come through to me is in the past, before the committee of the whole, when there were board committees, faculty did have representation on those. So it wasn't intentional. It's just that the board committee structure went away. It changed to committee of the whole, and then it came back again. And that piece was kind of left out. But I understand your position on it in the sense of it's more about like big picture governance and not like in the weeds.
Unfortunately. Fortunately and fortunately for everyone there, sometimes unfortunately on our side where we wish we understood more of the layers and underneath, but it's part of the role. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I have a few things, unless somebody else. Thank you for your comments. I think you presented them in an excellent manner. I concur with Trustee Rails' statements. I got to tell you, as a self-professed and self-proclaimed union ally, the next chair may not have been so sympathetic. You're a smart, strong, capable leader, and I watched you lead a discussion on the faculty listserv Friday after the new faculty meeting. You have a personality that I grew up with you, but I didn't know you. And so I appreciate your remarks here tonight more than you know. And I think I've said it a lot, and at some point people hear what I say. Part of what's going on here is just money. I mean, the economy has changed, and we've gone from a top payer to a payer. And our ability to get administrative personnel and ministerial staff has been difficult through COVID. So I thank you for raising the issue. Classroom construction and discussions, I would hope that we would always communicate with faculty about that, particularly those that are going to be impacted. I can't believe any one person would have the total knowledge and understanding of what to do. With respect to Peanut Gallery, I'm offended on behalf of Peanuts and the fact that I sit at the back.
Yeah, I mean, we have a good time.
Do you know where that came from, the Peanut Gallery?
I don't.
It's my understanding for a room full of scholars that it's a Globe Theater reference, where the patrons at the center of the Globe Theater would be, because the rich people all had the suites, right? So the poppers down in the...
While they were watching Moneyball?
I'm not going to take that big.
Let the pitch go by.
So the faculty voice and insight, I thank you, and many of us have struggled with how exactly to structure the committee structure. I know Trustee Smith-Everett and Musil and Rattan reviewed and recommended how we should proceed. I'm grateful to the administration for bringing back the committees and allowing us an opportunity to have a window into the weeds. I appreciate you saying that. Certainly, we welcome faculty insight. I got to say, I learned a lot from the faculty when I started, and my ability to make my mortgage and keep my wife happy is why I don't always come, because I've got to go take care of things. But I thank you for always welcoming us and having us, inviting us. Areas mentioned, I don't understand that reference. Is that, and I wasn't able to be at the president's speech. What does areas mentioned mean?
That was actually a response today. During the question and answer portion of the all-faculty meeting, it was asked whether there were programs that were ripe to begin conversations about the possibility of either sunset or revamp or those things. And one of the individuals whose program was mentioned was very upset by that.
That's fine.
I tend to not telegraph, but I also, when asked, and then I was asked well, when was I? And I said, well, I was asked a question. I answered honestly in the moment. We haven't had this conversation yet, but it is on my desk and was brought to me by your dean, and you and I will be sitting down.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I'll talk to you after or later if I may, but I just appreciate it. I didn't understand the reference. So that's all I had, unless somebody else has something for Dr. View. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew.
The next report is for the Johnson County Education Research Triangle by trustee Greg Musel.
The Johnson County Education Research Triangle is funded by 1/8 cent sales tax approved by the voters in 2008. It is split between the KU Cancer Center, the KU Edwards campus, and the K-State Olathe campus. Because it's a sales tax, it has done very well in the last couple of years with the inflationary pressures. For the month through July 31 of 2023, it was up 5.7% over 2022 and 13.5% over 2021. Our next meeting is in October, and I will report the exact date when we have our September meeting. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Trustee. Any questions for Trustee Musel? The next item on our agenda is the Kansas Association of Community Colleges.
Yes.
Trustee Nancy Ingram.
I'm in. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome.
Our next meeting is a week from tomorrow and Saturday on August 25th and 26th. That will be at Cloud County Community College in Concordia, Kansas, and I am planning to attend in person. So I will have a report next month.
And we'll miss you at the Harvest Dinner.
I will miss the Harvest Dinner. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Anything further? I'm sorry.
No.
Any questions for Trustee Ingram? Any questions? The next item on our agenda is indeed the foundation report by Trustee Rattan.
Good evening, everyone. Please save the date for November 11th, 2023 for our next Some Enchanted Evening fundraiser. Recently, the committee welcomed Dr. Roy Jensen and his wife Linda at a reception to honor his Johnson Countyan of the Year recognition. Sponsorships and tickets are still available at jccc.edu/CSEE 2023. Next, we have a couple of other events. Today, the foundation hosted board members at a reception at the Hugh Libby Career and Technical Education Center and gave tours. The Harvest Dinner is scheduled for August 25th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Capitol Federal Conference Center. This event helps support the future of sustainability at JCCC. Evergy and Huda are sponsors of the event. I believe there's a concert after the event as well. The Nerman is hosting an event on September 9th. This event will honor Bruce Hartman, and it will raise funds to help restore the Leo Villareal architectural light sculpture called Microcosm. To purchase tickets, visit the Nerman Museum events. Lifestyle Magazine is planning on hosting a third-party event in September that's going to benefit student scholarships. Stay tuned for the date and the location. As far as scholarships go, the JCCC Foundation has been collaborating with financial aid to award the fall scholarships for the 2023-2024 school year. We look forward to hosting our fall scholarship luncheon on September 14th, and more details will be coming soon. I'm done. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Trustee Rattan. I wasn't sure we were going to the September 9th event, and then I noticed my wife put it on our refrigerator, like right in front of me. Any questions, comments for Trustee Rattan?
I believe an email came out today about the fall scholarship luncheon.
Yes.
Thank you very much. The next item on our agenda is the College Council by Mr. Jason Arnett. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me very much. I appreciate it.
Wasn't it last month you were gone?
Yes.
We noticed.
I appreciate that. Yeah. My name's Jason Arnett, and I function as the co-chair for College Council. My day job is running retail dining on campus, so happy to be here. I typically cover things that faculty and board, or stuff you already know about. So I cover everything else out of College Council. So the Staff Council was having discussions around communication issues still, ongoing things. And then they sponsored PLD activities this week, professional learning days, Trustee Musil. And the Staff Council Town Hall will be October 10th, and it'll be on Zoom. Open to everybody. The counseling office reports having hired some much-needed staff and that they're as busy as ever at this time of year. The new scheduling software they have is allowing students to make appointments online at their convenience, which everyone seems to agree is a good thing. And so they're busy, but they're happy at this point, the counseling office. We were aware that the Adjunct Council event, Synergized, was scheduled for Monday, so we're looking forward to a report on that from Adjunct Council next month. And our focus continues to be on communication in general. Our subcommittee on communication is reaching out to interview campus experts on how communications overall can be improved. We had one interview this week, and there's another one, I think, next week with some campus luminaries. And then the subcommittee will also meet with the Office of Institutional Effectiveness Research and Planning this month to begin our process, building focus groups to follow up on stuff from the Employee Engagement Survey this fall. So our next meeting is September 13th. I have for you today.
Any questions for Mr. Arnett? I have one. How would you suggest that we have better engagement and involvement in faculty and staff surveys?
That's one of the things we're looking at with our focus groups. We really want to find out in our interviews. We're asking those kinds of questions. You know, what needs to happen? How do we get people more in? I know in my own efforts, you
think we should pay him?
Should we pay them to do the survey?
I'm just trying to think outside the box and
Swag.
trying to get you to laugh.
Yeah, swag. Yeah, I think stress balls would probably be pretty good.
Swag bag.
Free food works with me.
Well, thank you very much.
People love cookies. So.
Trustee Ingram is.
Well, you did mention communication issues. Can you give me an example of what are you talking about?
Staff Council brought up an issue to us overall where there were some issues with trust and leadership and those kinds of things. And through Staff Council, they're seeing a number of topics, particularly around how things are communicated, and then some, without getting too into the weeds on it, it's issues where maybe their supervisor doesn't communicate effectively with them. So it's that kind of thing.
Okay.
We're looking at how we can improve that.
You bet. Thank you.
Any other questions?
That actually leads me to a question.
Sure,
If you don't mind. So do we have training for our staff leaders, our managers, our directors?
I'm so glad you asked. Yes. Rachel Haynes and Carissa Sadiq, I think is how I say her name, have developed a training system for supervisors and managers that there are classes that are held monthly now. And I'm recommending some of my staff go to these things so that we can work on having a common language to talk amongst ourselves that we translate down. So.
Right. I think that's one of the things we, sometimes we tend to really hear and focus on the faculty development side. And we know all the back to school that happens on their side, but it's equally as important our staff because we know that you all are, make this place run, and it's incredibly important that we have the same level of training so that they're informed and can inform their direct reports and communicate effectively. So thank you. Appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Just that leads me to something I was going to say in my report, but it really fits really well here. Dr. View did a great job of recognizing the work that our faculty development team does. I mean, they really do exceptional work. Parallel to that is our staff development team led by Rachel Haynes. And they are equal partners with the faculty development team in planning for and carrying out not only Professional Learning Days week, but a robust training calendar throughout the year. And to the point of the question that you asked about supervisor training, that was one of the things that Rachel and team had identified coming out of work with Staff Council that was an opportunity, and they got on it right away. And and have really developed a good, not only supervisory training program, but then also the next level up of manager development as well. So they're making good progress with that, and I know they'll continue to refine that work as they go.
Anything else for Mr. Arnett? Yes, sir.
Sorry, just one other thing. He didn't say this, but Jason was reelected to serve as co-chair. He's done really a fantastic job of leading College Council, which brings people from all over the college together. He and I shared that role of co-chair. What does that really mean? Jason leads it, and he's done it. He's the one that plans
You
for
said
it.
that, yes, that's true.
We work together and review things, but Jason really, from an operational standpoint, he does that incredibly well, and I think his peers across the college that serve on College Council recognize that and appreciate that in him. So Jason, very well done.
Thank you so much.
This is your second year?
Second year.
This is my second year, yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for doing it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you to Dr. Bound for putting this on the agenda and letting us speak to your employees and learn what goes on.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is the committee reports and recommendations section, and we'll begin with the Board Governance Committee with that presentation being done by Trustee Laura Smith Everett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Board Governance Committee met at 1:30 on Wednesday, August 3rd in the Hugh W. Spear Boardroom right here. Those present are listed in your board packet. And we are going to bring forth the recommendation, if I can, of our officers policy. I'm waiting for it to load. Doop, doop, doop. I apologize.
Right here. Oh,
Do you have it?
no,
Mike, I
the
don't have it.
old-fashioned
Thank
printer,
you.
Laura.
It is the recommendation of the Board Governance Committee that the Board of Trustees approve the modification to the officers policy 111.02 as shown in the board packet. Mine is still not loaded. Thank you, Trustee Rail, for your support. So I will make that motion.
second.
Motion's been made by Trustee Smith Everett and seconded by Trustee Musel. Any discussion? Yes.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I made a note of something. It would be reflected on page 3 in the duties of chair and duties of vice chair. And I think particularly, I was looking at the duties of the vice chair, noticed that in 2C, we have added the reviews and in cleaning up that language in accordance with reimbursement of travel expenses policy 216.01. Looking at your duties, that was not there. So I would like to recommend that we, that I make a motion that would include the redlined 2C, which is under duties of the vice chair, to 1E. So everything that is redlined. So basically, it's going to say that reviews and approved travel in yours, just as it does in the vice chair's.
That makes a lot of sense.
To make that language,
I will accept that as a second. That's a really good question. You have a really weak board governance committee.
I said, we've just looked at it so many times, we missed it.
I wasn't pointing fingers at anyone.
I thought you were just trying to usurp power from me.
No. But I just felt like, and I questioned it. I was here at the meeting. I heard it discussed. But when I went to read it for a final review, I thought it just kind of makes sense,
Yep.
particularly in looking at what my responsibilities were as vice chair and someone else's will be in the future, and then to reflect that in yours as well.
I have no problem with that. Is there any objection to the amendment as proposed by Trustee Ingram?
Can you restate it again?
Yes, it would be, the motion would include the redlined from 2C also be included in 1E,
So that the language is
so that the
identical.
language is identical.
It wouldn't be exactly identical. It'd have to stay
Well,
for other trustees.
Right.
and college
But the red
presidents.
line.
The red line
just the red line
is
all I'm
identical
referring to.
for,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Because he reviews, just like I would review in mine, et
Do I do
cetera.
that?
Yes, you do.
It references the policy.
Right.
Do you understand that, Ms. Nazar?
Yes, she's making a motion to amend the motion that Trustee Smith Everett made. And did you second that?
Yeah, but I think
It's the
Laura and
same.
I have both agreed to that as a friendly amendment, so we don't have to go through the vote on the
Okay,
amendment.
that's what I wondered.
That's fine, I just want to make sure you understood.
I'm there.
I'm fine with it.
It was intended to be very friendly.
Friendly amendment accepted.
Any other questions, comments, discussion on the point?
Thank you.
Hearing, seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no.
And that concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Trustee. The next item on our agenda is the Employee Engagement and Development Committee. Didn't this used to be HR?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. So the Employee Engagement and Development Committee, report by Trustee Hamel.
Thank you, Chair Cross. The Employee Engagement and Development Committee met at 12:30 PM on Wednesday, August 2nd, right here in the boardroom. We went over and monitored the HR employment strategy and initiatives. We were introduced to Fine Line HR Consulting, Ann Griffith, the senior HR consultant, and Pam Winterman, the compensation consultant. They provided an introduction overview of the engagement with JCCC. Ms. Griffith and Ms. Winterman have begun their direct engagement with JCCC's HR team to engage, listen, and learn, and to help identify what is going well and what is not working in the current process, and provide guidance for improvements. Ms. Winterman will work directly with JCCC's compensation team and oversee the Culpeper project. One of the main goals during the engagement between JCCC and Fine Line HR Consulting will be to assist with the search for a new HR leader and director of compensation. We also were able to meet with the Culpeper team, Natalie Croy, Vice President. She provided an update on the architecture project. Ms. Croy presented Culpeper's approach is to leverage their compensation and accurate data to be true partner throughout the project. The key project steps, timeline was shared. Culpeper and JCC's compensation team are in step 2 of the project and meeting with the position data questionnaires, the PDQ reviews. Everything is going according to schedule. The methodology of the job matching is a 2-part process. Step 1 is to identify the overall content of the job. Culpeper classifies jobs into function, sub-function, and job family. Step 2 is to determine at what level the work is being performed and determined where the job fits in 4 main classifications. There will be various calibration checkpoints for the JCC compensation team to complete for the job levels, to ensure alignment across organization as well as up through the hierarchy of JCCC. That concludes my report.
I thank you. Any questions for Trustee Hamel? I will say, appreciate your service on that committee, and I thank you for your insight into, I'm just going to say, human relation issues.
And I have a lot of help on there as well, so.
Yes, Madam Trustee Ingram.
Yes, and this question actually would probably come to you at this point, but I know we did talk about processes for communication.
Yes.
Have we got a plan for communicating back to the board? And
Yes. So Ann and I have met, Ann Griffith and I, so the lead for Fine Line HR Consulting, and I have met, and she has a plan that there will be 3 updates that happen on a regular basis. There'll be an update each month to Cabinet. There'll be an update each month to you through the committee each month. So you will get a regular update. And so they're happening sequentially so that you're getting comparable information. We're also trying to be sensitive to report development time versus service delivery time. And so we've tried to align those closely to each other. And then it also includes updates to campus. Most 2 of the pieces, one of them will be the management topics, which is where we engage supervisors. And then we'll be using, the next one will be the town hall meeting in October that was referenced in the report.
okay, I appreciate that. I know it was something that we talked about, and I think we all agree. We just want to make sure that that communication is occurring. So at our monthly meeting, that's great, and then that will be included in the minutes that we will then have for this meeting. So that's great.
Trustee Smith-Everett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think when we are reviewing our committees, I think it's important that we make sure that we provide good feedback about all of our experiences. And one of the comments that's come up frequently that is a result of why I'm speaking now is that it's hard for a board member who's at the back of the room, not on the committee, to make a comment during presentations. And so one of the burning questions I had during the presentation of the new, of the third-party HR that we're using is that the benefits officer said that they were going to be remote, I think 90%, 80% of the time. And so my question for you or a member of our cabinet is, how will our staff access them in a timely manner to get benefits, and how will she be able to supervise and really have an understanding of our benefits department with that being a remote position?
So Ann is providing the overall leadership from the department. So Ann and Pam are working very closely together to support the department overall and specifically for compensation and benefits. Ann and I are meeting at least 3 times a week to stay on top of everything that's going on. Pam is fully engaged with the compensation team on a regular basis. So while the plan is for her to have remote access, she's actively engaged from a remote access standpoint.
So how are our staff, if they have benefits, how is she, who?
They're communicating back and forth on a regular basis.
Okay.
Our compensation benefits team is in regular contact with Pam, even though she's not physically here.
Through email.
Through email, through phone, through,
So-
yes.
I believe what we're concerned is if you're working on campus and you had questions of benefit, there's still a benefit.
There's
team
a
on
benefits team here. They're still,
dealing
yes.
with the exact same people.
Yes.
She's just seeing the oversight of it more remotely, so
Okay.
it shouldn't change for any of the employees at all, right?
Yeah, so let me
Okay.
be clear to all of you and to anybody who's listening in the audience here and elsewhere. Our HR team is there to provide service to our employees, full-on service. So we have staff in compensation and benefits. We have staff in employee relations. We have staff in staff development. We have staff in recruitment and, in the hiring process. So we have an HR team. If there are benefits questions, they go to their benefits specialist. If there are compensation questions, they go to the compensation team. If they have, so the structures that we have in place continue to be there to serve employees while Ann and Pam are there providing guidance and leadership and support, all combined together to help the HR team.
Okay. I am going to speak for myself. It is a concern I have. I just don't feel that we can be effective when we are not on site. And for whatever it is and whatever restraints she had in being able to do this, I appreciate that. And I'm glad that we have people here, and I'm glad that we do have the full HR team, including, is it Pam or which one's the HR? Ann's the HR.
Ann-
Pam's the,
Yeah.
Pam and Ann, they just get in all my, there's a lot of vowels in there. So there's only 2 actually now that I just calculated. So it's a concern of mine, and I just want to say that here publicly for anybody watching that I have that concern. The other thing I wanted to say is just with the start of the school year and this, the effect of people coming back and finding out that HR is new and different from a leadership standpoint is, I think it's imperative on everyone that's here, including us, that we really reiterate that people belong. I've heard quite a bit of feedback from faculty and staff in the first couple weeks back that there's a lot of new people on campus and there's a lot of change. And with change can bring a lot of angst and can bring a lot of concern. And I think it's really critical that we all speak to everyone belonging here and that we're grateful and glad for the new. And we're also grateful and glad for those that are still here, and that there will be, a great benefit from both of those things. But I want to be able to say that here because I think I keep hearing this sort of underlying angst about all the change, which can be quite unsettling for some people. So that concludes my comments, Mr. Chairman.
I think Trustee Ingram, did you have something? No. Okay, Trustee Brown, sorry.
Just briefly to address the concern about remote working, and maybe I have a little bit different perspective. The past 3.5 years have changed the way we think of what the office looks like. And I often accuse myself of being one of those get off my lawn people. And it's taken a long time for me to make this shift, but I have come to learn in my role where I advise HR and clients all the time that people really can work remotely and be very effective. And we've become very good at it as a society. Technology supports it, and we've just learned as a society how to better integrate with people in the workplace from a remote perspective. And I think as a consultant, I have confidence that Pam is going to be able to provide the leadership that she needs to provide while working remotely. If I get proven wrong, then, I'll have egg on my face. But I think we've just learned as a society how to look at things differently in terms of remote work. And I think that she'll be very effective from her remote position.
Let me just jump in there real quick. Are you done?
Yes.
I concur with you. I do understand and appreciate Trustee Smith Everett's concern, but let me ask, what does offsite mean exactly in this? Where is she?
She's remote.
She does not live in Kansas City.
She's not living in Kansas City.
She will be here, and maybe we've discussed it, but she'll be here periodically.
She will be almost entirely remote.
Okay. And look, I share Trustee Rail's sentiment, and I work on cases across the country, and responsibility is responsibility, and you have to do it. And so that's what I want to say.
Yeah.
Sure, thank you. Honestly, I'm kind of right in between where you guys are at, and I totally, we kind of can talk this to death, but, and we can do things remotely. Obviously, we've all probably done those at times, but I do have major concern about, in a leadership role, being away, doing a function, giving a report back after completing your task is much easier to do remotely than giving full on development and leadership for a department. So there is some concern. But I will say that it sounds like the hearing Ann and hearing Pam, they seem like they've done the exact same thing multiple times over, and they've experienced. So I'm hoping that this is, and it sounds like they've done this and had success in the past. So I am encouraged by that. But again, obviously I think you're both right on both these issues that are. The other thing we were talking about turnover, and as Laura said, we just had an announcement where somebody was talking about our turnover in HR and how where we're at, and across the board, COVID, and a lot of people are going through this turmoil and in Beacon retail, one of the things I experienced a lot was turnover. And if you can keep your turnover down, and your store can do heads and shoulders above anybody else. So it's one of the biggest things you strive for. Same thing here. We've had a huge amount of turnover that have happened in HR and even across the campus from COVID and all kinds of reasons, the verb, whatever else. And to everybody that works here on campus, as the board, I think I'm speaking for everybody here. I'm pretty sure I am, but we all know how valuable you are and how much you're needed and wanted and respected, appreciated here in the role you're in. And we do not want to lose any more talent, any more of our culture that we've already lost, across the whole campus. So we just want you to know how valuable and how much we appreciate you.
Thank you for that. Trustee Ingram.
Yes, thank you, Mark. That's really nice. I would just clarify then back to you, Dr. Beyond, when it comes to those reports. And we've talked about Ann because Ann is on this campus, but will Culpeper also be giving a monthly report to us?
Yes.
Okay, at our meeting.
Yes. Now, sometimes that may come through Pam and Ann, but there will be regular updates on the Culpeper project.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other discussion here? I just would like to raise the examples of how important consultants are. I know there was a congressional candidate in West Texas in 1978, and he lost, and then a congressional candidate in Illinois in 2000 that lost. And once they each found the talent in their respective consultant, Karl Rove for George Bush or David Axelrod for Barack Obama, they won. And I'm saying this, I support the administration's decision. I'm fine with the talent working remotely. We need the talent. And the change can be good. This is a college campus, after all. We're supposed to experience change and exchange new ideas. So, look, I support this decision, and I thank everyone for the discussion. I just wanted to say that. The next item on our agenda is the Inclusion and Belonging Committee by Trustee Rattan.
I'm ready. All right. The Inclusion and Belonging Committee met at 10:59 a.m. on Wednesday, August the 2nd, 2023, in the Hugh Spear Boardroom. The meeting opened with a campus update on our International and Immigrant Student Services, IISS department. This team supports more than 1,000 students from more than 100 international countries. They address student issues such as enrollment, housing, medical, and cultural needs, as well as things related to a student's documented status. Next, Marquise Harris, the Executive Director for Inclusion and Belonging, introduced himself as a new campus leader and discussed his approach to this work. He shared his view that every component of an institution should align with the goals of inclusion and belonging. Currently, he's listening, learning, and assessing the campus to help us create a more common language as we develop appropriate recommendations for improvement. Additionally, Shelley Allen, Vice President for Student Success and Engagement, also was introduced and shared her support for a comprehensive vision of inclusion and belonging. The meeting closed with a presentation by John Clayton, Executive Director, Institutional Effectiveness, Planning and Research, who reviewed recommendations for the key performance indicators for the Strategic Plan Goal 3, DEI. This included both a review of both student and employee survey results, as well as a discussion around improving intensity scores. The next IMB committee meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, September 6th at 11 a.m. in the relocated boardroom. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am completed.
Thank you, and thank you for your leadership on that committee. The next item on our agenda is the Management and Finance Committee. And that presentation will be by the man, the myth, and the legend, Trustee Musil.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. The Management and Finance Committee held its meeting at 8:30 a.m. on Wednesday, August 2nd. Trustee Hamill and I are on that committee and we're there at the meeting. The information can be found on pages 12 through 18 of the board packet. The first thing we did was we received reports on the capital infrastructure inventory, and the 1, 5, and 10-year plans that are adopted by the college. Tom Hall, the Associate Vice President for Campus Services and Facility Planning, and Brett Edwards, Director of Campus Services and Energy Management, presented that overview of inventory and replacement plan and the related systems and processes. That information is updated annually by campus services staff and guides the decision-making process and allocation of resources for preventative maintenance and preservation of our building infrastructure. Roofs, bricks, sidewalks, parking lots, all that.
Trees.
In addition, Tom Hall presented the committee with an update on the facility projects that are ongoing from the capital acquisitions and improvements matrix. He also reviewed progress on various infrastructure projects currently underway, including in this building on the first floor that will eventually kick us out of the building as they improve and expand the board room. Tonight we have several recommendations to present. The first one, Janelle Vogler presented a recommendation related to the publication of notices for public hearings for the college's fiscal year 2023-2024 budget hearing or legal budget. She noted that the revenue neutral rate hearing and the budget hearing will be held during the board meeting at 5 p.m. on September 14th, 2023. As a statutory requirement, we have to publish that both of those hearings and a notice of them beforehand, and so it's a recommendation of the Management and Finance Committee that the Board of Trustees accept the recommendation of college administration to authorize the publication of the notice of budget hearing and the notice of revenue neutral rate hearing for the 2023-2024 budget, and I so move.
Second.
Motion has been moved by Trustee Musil and seconded by Trustee Rattan. Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously. Trustee Musil.
The next item on the agenda was an auxiliary fund update, things such as our bookstore, our cafeteria, Hersteiner's Child Care Center, and those other things that are funded as auxiliary budget items and support staff, faculty, and mostly students on campus. We had a report initially in February of 2023 that reviewed the financial performance and showed that our auxiliary fund is not generating the revenue it did when bookstores were bookstores, as most of us know them. For various reasons, including the shift to lower cost digital course materials that affect the bookstore, fluctuating on-campus student enrollment, new compensation structure whereby we increased everybody's rate to at least a starting rate of $15 an hour, and the decline in revenues. The Auxiliary Enterprises Fund is estimated to end this past fiscal year with a negative balance of $88,954, subject to some final year-end adjustments. And in order to deal with that, it is a recommendation of the Management and Finance Committee that the Board of Trustees accept the recommendation of college administration to authorize a transfer of $200,000 from the general fund to the Auxiliary Enterprises Fund, recorded as of June 30th, 2023 for the last fiscal year, and I would so move.
Motion's been made by trustee Musil. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by trustee Ingram. Any discussion here?
The only thing I would mention is that this isn't going to get any better. We used to fund a lot of our auxiliary services from a profit in the bookstore. Those days are gone. That's good for students in terms of what they have to spend on books. Their digital course materials are a lot more affordable, but it is a problem for the college and the fact that we don't generate enough revenues elsewhere. So we can assume that we're going to continue to have to put general fund revenues into those enterprises if we want them to continue to be available on campus. And I know things like our dining services, they're looking at various ways to be more efficient, to staff that the way they need to staff it. They may need to look at some increases in prices, things like that, to try to balance out this imbalance that we have now that the bookstore is not throwing off significant funds, hundreds of thousands of dollars that we used to have available.
Trustee Rattan.
Have we looked at other similarly sized colleges to find out any improvements and streamlining that they've done to minimize this? So instead of making it 200K, maybe it's 100K.
I know that we have been a lot of work on campus. Everybody is suffering the same way because everybody relied on their bookstore, as I understand it, to generate a profit that allowed us to subsidize, if you will, our dining services, our child development, all that stuff. And those days are gone for everybody. So I'm very impressed with the folks that are running the bookstore, the dining services, and otherwise that are looking at other ways to try to find support. Unfortunately, the only way to do that really is we can cut some expenses, but the only other way to do that is charge more for the child development center to have your child there, charge more for your lunch, if we could charge more for digital courses, and then we might drive those people somewhere else. So it's a problem.
And we have done benchmarking against other institutions, other colleges and universities throughout the years. And some of that played into the budget recommendations that we made for next year too, to make some changes with the way we're accounting for fringe benefits, the way we're accounting for the Hearst Steiner Child Care Development Center revenues and expenses. And so I think you'll continue to see that. Did you have a comment, Trustee Hamel?
Yeah, thank you. Kind of adding on to what Don was saying, one of the things that I was wondering about is the bookstore and the coffee shop. Somehow, if we were able to combine those, we can have maybe less employees there running that area. One of the biggest things I know, as a past manager of a Kohl's, they used to have two entrances forever, and you have to have cashiers on both sides, and you didn't need that at all times, but you had two entrances. Mm-hmm. So if we're able to maybe do that with that bookstore and the coffee shop, maybe there's some way we can reduce some of our employees.
The market,
Possibly, yeah. I'm sure, I know you guys are looking at it too, so I'm just, one of my thoughts, top of my head.
Yeah, and one thing that was pointed out, and Janelle and her team did a great job of bringing this up in February as well as this past month, is in spite of the adoption of the new pay table, which cost the auxiliary fund around $300,000, if you will, they did about $300,000 better than the year before. So that's a $600,000 swing in the right direction in FY23. So again, we're going to continue to monitor this, continue to make adjustments, and hopefully have better news to report going forward.
Everyone needs to go buy a JCCC t-shirt.
I was going to say, the trustees need to be given a link to the merch, and we will make up that fund in only a matter of time.
Right.
Or you could go to Google and...
Oh, yeah, there's that.
Buy a pizza.
Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Hamel, I appreciate your anecdotes. I really do. And then as you were talking, There's a line in the movie Family Man with Nicolas Cage where the Wall Street brokerage house is giving him grief for giving stories about the tire dealership. And he goes, it's just numbers. It's just numbers. Thanks for laughing. Where are we?
We need to vote. Just vote on that record, that motion.
Any further discussion on this item? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously.
The next item on the agenda was an RFP for beverage pouring rights, which is about what version of sodas we can sell on campus, or we choose to sell, vending, snack, and beverage operations around the campus. And in honor of former trustee Stewart, who, as I mentioned at the committee meeting, did not like voting for Pepsi every year, we now are going to have a motion for the recommendation to the board to accept the recommendation of college administration to approve the proposal from Heartland Coca-Cola for beverage pouring rights for an estimated base amount of $100,000 and a 5-year estimated amount of $500,000, a beverage vending commission rate for vending machines of 35%, and then also to approve canteen vending for snack vending commission at a rate of 23.8%, and Super Dave's Snack Emporium for a vending commission rate of 20% for a base year, and all renewal options through 2028. So we're breaking up. We looked at various options, and we're also including Super Dave's Snack Emporium, which is a local small business, as I understand it, as an option. So I would make a motion to that effect.
I'll second.
Motion's been made by trustee Musil and seconded by trustee Ingram. Any discussion? Any discussion? All of it's just watered down coffee. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no.
The next item on the agenda was an RFP for state and federal government affairs liaison services. That material was in your packet at the committee level of the various responders to that and the process that was used to select. And it is a recommendation of the Management and Finance Committee that the Board of Trustees accept the recommendation of college administration to approve the proposal from the Carter Group for a base year of $108,000 and a total estimated expenditure of $573,387 throughout the renewal options. And I would so move.
Second.
Motion has been made by trustee Musil and seconded by trustee Rattan. Any discussion here?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, trustee Smith
if
Everett.
we could just have clarification, as we do with other bids. We love Dick Carter, he's done a lot for us, but he was the highest bid. Can we have clarification why that was picked?
I can, and I know that probably Rachel can help, but what we asked at the committee meeting was, the Carter Group is the incumbent. They have been the government lobbyist for the college for, I don't know,
15 plus.
I don't think it's been that long.
Yeah, 15 plus.
Maybe. As long as I've been here.
15.
And so we asked that question at the committee level, and Jim Vikert, I think, went through the criteria that were used, and there were 8 or so criteria that were reviewed. I think it's always a fair question because it's probably the hardest professional services thing that we value. We talk about our bond, we talk about our financial consultant, we talk about outside counsel sometimes, but valuing and trying to evaluate the lobbyist who goes to Topeka, builds relationships, is dedicated to the college. One of the things that was most important to me, in addition to his experience, was the fact that he has no conflict with another higher education client. So he will devote his time to Johnson County Community College. And having done this at the city level and city council, it was always important to me that at the end of the session, I know you're there for my institution. And I think Dick has proven he would be there for community college and not have other clients that will tug him away from our focus. I'd defer to Rachel about the criteria that were used.
I think you've covered it. Well, there were 5 objective evaluation criteria that everyone on the scoring committee used and applied those to all of the firms. Again, as the report indicates, there were 5 responses. We did 3 Zoom interviews with finalists to determine the firm that best met the college's needs. And so in this RFP, as in others, cost isn't the only factor that we consider.
Trustee Hamel.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. I asked quite a few questions with Andy here, my meeting with him yesterday, and he was able to answer the vast majority of them. But then they kind of sit and you think about it a little bit more and you ponder and have more questions. And I like to present my questions more ahead of time. And I tried to call Lee just before so he kind of knew what I was looking at. And I'm not necessarily disputing any of the things that we've just discussed. But as a bigger picture, looking at, the entirety of Johnson County, I was looking at the other members that Carter represents. And again, this is not anything that he's doing wrong or anything nefarious, so I want to be really clear on that. But the big scope is, it looks like he represents 8 other entities of Johnson County. Does anybody know if that's correct or not? Or my research was correct? So it looks like he has 9. Is that?
I don't know for certain how
Okay.
many clients he
And I don't know, I don't remember all of them off the top of my head, but they looked like they were representing like multiple municipalities across the county, multiple school districts across the county. So I think there was 9. And again, my research could be off, but I'm kind of curious to know how much he's paid by each one of those. So if he's getting paid by 9 institutions across Johnson County, and we're offering him approximately 110 per year for the next 5 years, is the county of Johnson County taxpayers paying him $1 million a year to be our lobbyist? And I'm just kind of curious to know what number that is and what that, if that's correct and if that matters to us or not.
Let me take a stab at that.
Sure.
I think, to my knowledge, I don't know the exact number.
I have no idea. I'm just asking
You raise an
questions.
interesting prospect that I hadn't thought about. I would guess for the public entities that would be publicly available, not our staff's responsibility. Although it's a good question. Go ahead, Trustee Smith.
I was just going to say, I think this is one of those things where, Trustee Hamel, we have to decide what's before us with the information for the purpose of what we're doing here. And if you have, you bring up a good point, and if you have concerns about it, you could speak to other people about that from a global standpoint. But within the jurisdiction of this motion and what we're considering for our purposes, it is, can he fulfill the obligations we have on campus for him being our lobbyist in Topeka and serving that role well? And for that, I will vote yes for this motion. And I don't take it upon myself to consider how other people earn their money, or for that matter, spend their money with other parts of their company or entity that they are also using. So.
I may respond. Sure. Mostly what you said, I agree with. And in most cases, I absolutely would. But when we're talking about taxpayer money, I mean, somebody was talking about this earlier. It might even have been you talking about the big scope of taking care of the whole county. I don't know who was saying that recently, but we should have that overview. We are looking at the whole Johnson County, not just the community college, even though that is extremely important and that is one of our biggest parts. And when you're talking about spending taxpayers' money, I just want to make sure we spend it as well as we can. I know we're all doing that. I'm not saying anybody's not, and it's not my intent of any of those things. I don't know if I can do it without knowing the answer to that, and I really wish I would have thought of that question sooner, but I do have that, came up with that question here earlier today, and that's why, so, but thank you.
Are you finished? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. We can come back to you.
I can answer the question.
Sure. No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I can answer the question.
Sure.
The other clients he has in Johnson County, he has 3 clients currently in Johnson County.
Okay.
Overland Park, Shawnee, and Johnson County Community College, should we approve this contract.
Overland Park, Shawnee, and Johnson County. So the other ones that I saw, I think I saw 9 when I was looking late last night. Those are not there anymore. Is those like maybe old ones or maybe never were?
I can't say that I know.
Okay,
I can't say that I know that. I know in.
But you feel very confident it's only 3 in Johnson County?
That's my understanding.
Is that correct at this point in time? Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, I appreciate that. That's very helpful. Makes it a lot easier for me. Thank you.
Trustee Rail.
I'll start by addressing, Trustee Hamel, your concerns, and then I will say what I intended to say to begin with. I think that if Mr. Carter has more clients in Johnson County, that probably means he's really good at what he does. And I don't think that should be a negative when we're considering whether or not he's going to be our lobbyist. I would not want a client to say, well, maybe we're not going to have you as our attorney because, look, you've got all these other clients, you're already making too much money. I don't think that's what you intended to say, but that's what I heard.
Okay, yeah, that wasn't.
So I kudos to Mr. Carter if he's successful, which brings me to my other point. I've had the privilege of working with Dick Carter in his capacity as the lobbyist for this college since 2008 when I first came on the board. He knows this college better than any lobbyist we could possibly have. And not only that, but I mean, my very first interaction with Dick was when we went to DC when I first came on the board in 2008. And we were lobbying at that point, Senator Brownback, for some things that we really wanted to get from federal aid. He is incredibly well respected. I've watched him interact with legislators at both the state and federal level. Very well respected, and he loves this institution. Mm-hmm. And when you're lobbying for something that you truly believe in, you're just so much more effective. And that, you can't put a price on that. And so obviously I was not involved in this selection, but I have absolutely no concerns that he was the highest bid, if you will, because he's just the best and has been the best in my experience for the 15 years that I've been, that's 15 years, right? Quick math. Mm-hmm. For the 15 years that I've been working with Dick as the lobbyist for the college, and I'm really grateful that he's been selected to continue in that role.
Trustee Rutan.
I'd like to say, as a person who owns a business, I'm not going to make a decision about how much I pay them based upon their part-time job or their weekend job or another job that they have. Are they performing the work that needs to be performed at the business that I have? And so if I draw that parallel, I would definitely vote for Mr. Carter if I had a vote. I, in the short time that I've worked with him, have observed his good relationships with people. And as Dr. Bound and I talked in our one-on-one, what stood out to me was the continuity, especially with the pressures that we're facing in higher education. We don't need to spend time to ground someone, onboard someone, and make sure that they can internalize, build relationships, and fight for what we need. So I'm 100% on board with keeping Mr. Carter.
Sure. I think you missed the point is what I'm getting at. And that was, everything that was said before, I understood. I just want to make sure that the clarification was out there of what the county as a whole is doing and making sure that we're looking at each other. Too often, bureaucracy will not pay attention to what the other person's doing, not communicate. I mean, some of the communication issues that we've talked about on campus happens where we get in these silos and we only communicate within our silo and we're not sharing communication and collaborating across the board. And my concern was, are we collaborating and are we communicating across the county so that we're looking at the entirety of the county and not just our own silo? While we are looking at that, we want to make sure we're sharing that communication. And so that was my concern, not necessarily Dick Carter or anything else. And until we address that, I think that should have been addressed and been important. And so based on the answer that Andy said that he is sharing with 3, I feel have a better understanding of what's going on and where we're at. And I will say that, having multiple jobs at different times, it is difficult to share yourself across different jobs, across family life, and juggle the more balls you put in the air. It does affect your ability to do your job, not your willingness or your want or anything of that nature. And that's not the intent of the conversation. It was just to make sure that we, as a whole, are paying attention to the rest of the county. And so I do appreciate Andy getting the answer to that. And I believe one of the lawyers, we have many lawyers on here, told me, don't ask a question in a boardroom, it might have been Lee, that you don't already know the answer to. And I do my best to do that. And that's why I said I hate bringing this up now when I wish I could have asked this question sooner. but thank you, everybody, for the conversation.
You're welcome. I want to tell you, I really do appreciate you, and you bring a different perspective. And in the words of one of my mentors, former trustee, State Representative Carol Sater, she asked me one time about 2015. She goes, "Lee, how's it going? How's it going?" I said, "You know, Carol, I swear to God, they listen to me, and I even get some input. I have some influence." She goes, "That's good. You have a different perspective. It's really good." And Lisa's laughing. I don't mean any insult to former trustee Carol Sater. You have a different perspective than us, and I think your point is valid. It would be curious, we should watch, why does this person have so many contracts with all these entities? I got to tell you, I don't always get along with Dick Carter. We don't always agree. I get along with him. We don't always agree. I got to tell you, I've seen him interact with U.S. Senators Pat Roberts, Jerry Moran. I know he was instrumental in the Governor Brownback years to helping us be held harmless in the community college movement. I think it helps he's a really good guy. With that said, your scrutiny and the critical eye that a board member needs to provide is good. I don't know Senator Marshall. I wanted to say that. I was not able to be here when he came. So I too would like to have a relationship with that giant appropriator. I think he's a respectable man. This includes DC, right? This is a federal legislative matter. Yes. I got to tell you, some of these numbers, and I'm not insulting, just straight up as a counselor at law and an advisor on this board, some of these numbers are not in the range of what we've paid Dick in the years past, not including DC. So Dick's going to have to travel to DC, probably a cheap-ish flight to National, put himself up. And I think one of the points you just made, and I really don't mean to disagree with you, I'm just discussing it, and I appreciate the discussion. Yeah. Are we I think you said something along the lines of, are we working with the county and in collaboration with the county? And I think, and I agree with Trustee Rail, that his relationships with OP and Shawnee, as I understand them, help provide us leverage because he represents those other powerful entities in our community, and I believe others statewide. I'm not an expert on his business. But that gives us leverage. So we're not only higher ed, but Dick's got influence in the municipal world. And I know probably best anecdotes from Senator Moran's staff. My brothers played football with a guy that worked for Senator Moran. Dick was held as an expert on community college issues. And they called Dick really a lot of times before they call KACC, although Heather Morgan's great. I'm not saying that. But Dick is held as an expert, a man committed to his job and to the state of Kansas. And I mean, your criticism, or your critical eye is valid. I don't want to not say that. Yeah. I'm comfortable with this this work and this bid and this acceptance of the bid because it's most in touch with reality. I have a DC law license. I travel to DC. I think it's going to be, it's frankly very, very cheap to have a lobbyist in DC. Yeah. And now that the earmarks are available, I think it's very wise that we do this. And so I'll let you respond. I don't mean to attack you or anything.
Yeah, no, and I didn't get that. And I feel much better. Again, my point, again, I hate making a point that I don't have the answer to my questions. And so I wasn't trying to make a point. I just wanted to make sure that we had all the information on the table to make an informed decision. And I feel much more comfortable knowing the answer to the decision because my little bit of research I was able to come up with last night that I was not sure of, I wanted to know, and I wanted to make sure everybody else across the county would know that. Knowing half of the answer at least, I feel much better. So I really do appreciate the conversation. And
go ahead.
Can I call the motion to question?
No,
Mr. Chair?
not yet. I got to tell you, Dick Carter was able to get Jerry Moran and I to speak, and we didn't like each other in a room. And so Dick has that capability to do that, and I just wanted to say that. So anyway.
Thank you.
The question's been called. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Go ahead.
May I? Yes. Just a couple other thoughts to keep in mind. Realize that we use taxpayer dollars to pay the federal portion of it, right? So that's approximately, and round numbers, $35,000 of it. And we partner with the foundation for the state work. And so there are two funding streams that do this, but the contract's held with the college. So I think that's not everything we're using is directly
money.
taxpayer dollars. So I think that's important to know. And then I would also add that certainly while Dick works on behalf of Overland Park and Shawnee, sometimes the interests of the municipalities are different than the interests of the college. And so he represents us, in my 3 years here, he represents us very well. And the other piece I would add is his work together with KACC is also a critical relationship there. We're fortunate to have the leadership of Heather Morgan, who does incredibly and tremendous work on behalf of the community colleges overall. But I believe Dick has done a good job in representing this college in my years here, certainly in Topeka. Thank you.
All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
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 And those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you for the discussion. Trustee Musil.
I meant to mention that you probably noticed a different format for the procurement stuff. We used to have a landscape chart for the table. That was a problem when our communications department tried to put it on the website and get it out there so it would fit. So we're now going to the 8.5 by 11 portrait format.
I think there's also an ADA.
Oh, yeah, it's an
Compliance.
accessibility
Yep,
issue under the
accessibility
ADA
issue. Yep.
for accessibility to the documents. That's right. So that's why you have a different format this month.
Same
because I was
information.
very confused. The next item on the agenda is we have 2 bids for furniture. The first one for Herman Miller and Knoll Furniture. Recommendation to accept the college administration recommendation to approve a cooperative purchase from John A. Marshall for a total estimated expenditure of $475,000 for fiscal year '24. This one and the next one are all bid on cooperative purchases, so the bids are established by the state of Kansas as a group, and then we are entitled to leverage that benefit for the prices that are on that. So I would move for that purchase from John A. Marshall.
Second.
Motion's been made by trustee Musil and seconded by trustee Smith Everett. Any discussion? Trustee Ingram.
Yes, and I'm going to ask Mr. Musil, if you would, when you were just talking about the format, does this mean that we won't any longer have the evaluation committee on some of these?
The evaluation committee is at the committee level.
No, the evaluation committees are still listed. If you go back to the ones, like the one we just talked about for the Carter Group.
Okay.
There, where we have the request for proposals.
Right.
The names of the evaluation committee are listed there.
Okay, but they're
On the
not
next
on
pages, they're not.
16 and
Right,
17.
so these are cooperative purchases,
Okay.
and so there is no
Yes.
evaluation committee.
Thank you. That was what I was asking.
That wouldn't have been there before, so.
Thank you,
yeah, you're not
thank you,
missing
thank you.
anything.
So further to confuse me. Okay, because
don't
I do
think-
pay attention to those, so thank
Absolutely.
you very much.
I don't think the information has changed, the format has changed.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously.
The next recommendation of the Management and Finance Committee is that the Board of Trustees accept the recommendation of college administration to approve the cooperative purchase from Scott Rice for steel case furniture for a total estimated expenditure of $335,000 for fiscal year '24, and I so move.
Second.
The motion has been made by trustee Musil and seconded by trustee Rattan. Any discussion here? Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously.
Final item is a bid for network infrastructure. The recommendation of the Management and Finance Committee that the Board of Trustees accept the recommendation of college administration to approve a 3-year Cisco Security Enterprise Agreement for $187,077 in fiscal year '24, and a total of $561,231 for 3 years through the duration of the Sirius Network Infrastructure contract. My understanding is that we're in a 5-year term for the infrastructure. This supports that infrastructure and the security, and at the end of that 5-year term, the contracts will be aligned in timing.
Yes, we'll do a one-year extension so that then they have matching endpoints, and they will renew at the same time from there.
I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made by trustee Musel and seconded by trustee Ingram. Any discussion on this point? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously.
I wish I had more, but I'm done, Mr. Chair.
Well, I thank you for your time and attention to matters and being able to answer things before staff can. That's impressive. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is the President's Student Success Committee.
Geez, almost again. Man.
What do I need to do? Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll begin with the Student Success Committee report from August the 3rd, 2023. The committee met at 9:30 a.m. on Wednesday, August the 3rd in the Hugh W. Spear Boardroom. Trustee Rail was also present as one of the trustees on that committee. The information is found in the board packet on pages 19 through 23. Our first item of business was regarding the substance abuse policy update. The Student Success Committee has reviewed the recommended changes to the Substance Abuse Policy 320.00. The recommended changes added an applicability and purpose statement and clean up the language used in the policy. Mr. Chair, it is the recommendation of the Student Success Committee that the Board of Trustees accept the recommendation of the college administration to approve modification to the Substance Abuse Policy 320.00 as shown subsequently in the board packet, and I so move.
Second.
Motion has been made by trustee Ingram and seconded by trustee Rail. Any discussion here? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Lisa Waldman presented the annual approval of Continuing Education's Workforce Development Services Agreement. The agreement was approved by the committee. Dr. Mickey McLeod presented an MOU with the Greater Kansas City Hispanic Development Fund. The renewal was approved by the committee. Complete details can be found subsequently on the consent agenda of the August 17th board packet. Jay Annell provided an update on the Center for Sustainability. He reviewed the history of the center, past awards, and peer institution comparisons. He reviewed the results of the Noel Levitt survey, which indicated students feel the college's sustainability efforts are valued and that this metric score increased from 2018 to 2021. Other initiatives include solar projects, the Harvest Lunch and Dinner, composting, the Open Petal Farm, integrating sustainability concepts in coursework, and public outreach efforts. He thanked JCCC for their continued support. Our next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, September the 6th at 10 a.m. in this boardroom. And Trustee Rail, do you have anything to add to that before I conclude my report?
I do not. You covered it well, Trustee Ingram.
Thank you very much. That concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Some of these reports have reflected that the meeting for September will be in this room when all of them will be in the new space. Yes. Noticed that. I didn't notice it.
Thank you. You're right.
Good point. Why can I not keep that room straight? WCMT 111?
Yes.
WCMT 111.
Like a radio station out east.
I agree.
Hold that now.
WCMT. Thank you.
Whoever came up with the name Open Petal Farm needs an accommodation. And then I just wanted to, of all the work here, I wanted to say thank you to Dr. Bound, Dr. McLeod, and Lisa Waldman for ironing out everything we need to do with Panasonic. So I thought that was an appropriate place to say that. The next item on our agenda is the president's recommendations for actions. Dr. Bound. No. The treasurer's report by trustee Smith Everett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I
The treasurer's report can be found in your packet on pages 23 to 34. They contain the preliminary unaudited treasurer's report for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2023. The college's fiscal year and closing process is not complete. Therefore, this report does not reflect all year-end adjusting entries. An ad valorem tax distribution of $47,065,069. I didn't read before I got up here and review my numbers. Was received from the county treasurer during June and was recorded as follows in your, which you can see in your board packet. Expenditures in the primary operating funds are within approved budgetary limits. It is a recommendation of the college administration that the Board of Trustees approve the treasurer's report for the month ended June 2023, subject to audit. And I will make that motion.
Second.
The motion's been made by trustee Smith Everett and seconded by trustee Rail. Any discussion here? As we head into an election cycle, may I ask Rachel Lears to explain why there's $123 million in unencumbered cash balance? Every cycle it comes up that we're sitting on so much money. Could you explain to us why?
Why that is? That's the general fund reserve balance that you're asking about?
The general fund unencumbered cash balance was 120.
Right, and so it's pretty high at the end of June. Remember, trustee Smith Everett just noted that we received a $44 million-ish tax disbursement from Johnson County in that month, right? And so that money carries us, if you will, until we have inflows from state funding or tuition, and the balance varies from month to month, as you can see on the monthly reserve report.
Yes, it does, doesn't it? Any other questions, comments? All those in favor of approving the recommendation for action, please signify by saying yes.
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 And those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously. Now, if I may, Dr. Bowden, I'll turn it
All
over.
right. Well, thank you very much, trustees. I will begin my monthly update to you. As we bring it up, things I want to cover, obviously we had the chance to meet Kinley Chapel earlier in our meeting. I'll do some highlights out of the written report that comes from across our campus. We've already talked about the temporary space. I'll do that quickly, and then we'll hit enrollments, and then we'll talk briefly about the launch of this semester. So again, I know you all look forward to engaging with our students each month, and Kinley is another shining example of students who have various experiences in life and come to us and are finding success. And it's been fun to get to know Kinley over the last year or so. If we look at the monthly report, just a few items that came out of that report that I wanted to draw your attention to. Our academic and advising counseling team received a $267,000 grant related to suicide prevention. That allows for training and events and partnership development, and appreciate the good work that they're doing. As we all know, and certainly I know Trustee Ingram, that this is an area that is near and dear to your heart, as we've talked about, Zero Reasons Why and so forth, and that continuation. And while the programming and services may look different at the college level, this is another way that we can continue to invest in that important support for our students. Through the work of the CoLab and working together with our students, we have something we call the Student Agency, which operates on a small scale, if you will, in doing real-world projects for area businesses. And we have 4 projects that they've been working on in recent months. Our dental hygiene program, like each of our healthcare programs, has an exam when it's all said and done, in essence to demonstrate that they have mastered the skills and knowledge that they need in order to be successful in their chosen profession. And our dental hygiene program is a top-notch program, and they had 100% pass rates at their first time through passing that critical exam. Good work by our faculty and our students to make sure they're well prepared, which means they're then well prepared to go in and care for us when we're sitting in the chair. Our video services team has worked, one of the things that they've worked on recently was a workshop that they recorded that focused in on ChatGPT and how you can use software like Turnitin to identify the work of AI in student work. And again, President View recognized that. Similar comments in her comments this evening. Again, it's there. We have to figure out how are we thoughtful and how do we help students learn to use AI appropriately and to help them understand when they haven't used it appropriately. Again, part of maintaining academic integrity. The last thing I wanted to include, it was actually not in the written report, but I wanted to draw attention to it here. I mentioned it in my comments in the president's address on Tuesday. If you think about 2 years ago, we asked our math faculty, and Dr. McLeod and I did ask our math faculty to look at how we approach placement into college algebra. Historically, it's been a high stakes test, whether it's the AccuPlacer, ACT, ALEKS, there are a variety of options, but we asked them to look at multiple measures, and they have. And so we piloted it last year in the high schools with our Quick Step Plus program. And then when you take that in combination with the approval that you made last year for last year's budget to allocate $200,000 to support students who couldn't afford to pay tuition while they're in high school. So for those College Now, in this case, this specific example is Quick Step Plus, college algebra in the high school. The question is, what results did that produce? I can tell you that combination of multiple measures of placement and financial assistance to students who otherwise wouldn't be able to afford to increased enrollment in Quick Step Plus, college algebra at the high school, by 55%. What's even better than that, and frankly, the results were even better than I had anticipated, the course success rates in Quick Step Plus, college algebra, while in the high school, increased by 67%. Those are percentages. Those are good. Those are amazing percentages. But at the end of the day, there's a student attached to that percentage. And that meant that there were 549 students who successfully completed college algebra. I'm actually I wasn't expecting this. There's a little emotion in my voice right now. College algebra is a barrier for many of our students. We know that well, and our faculty have responded, and the results are bearing itself out. 549 students that didn't have access to college algebra a year ago had access to it, and they successfully passed it. I'm really proud of our team for that incredible work. So, all right, get it back together. All right, it is worth a celebration, folks. It is. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. And so that carries over now into the classroom on campus this semester. And so those are amazing results. Will we see that level of result across the campus here? I don't know. But I know that it worked. It was a pilot as we went to scale for multiple measures, and it works. And there's more change that's coming that the math faculty are working on with co-requisite remediation. That's coming. The work that's happening statewide around math pathways, that's coming. All those things work together to create more opportunity for students to be successful as we move forward. And so, all right, I've got it back together for now. We talked about this, the reminder. Let me be very clear. We will be in WCMT, Welding, Construction, Machining, Technology Building, room 111, starting in September. Committee meetings, board meetings will be delivered in that space. We've increased seating capacity in there by almost double. And so we'll be able to handle the in-person presence there. The board meetings will be recorded and streamed and broadcast after the meeting. We will not be streaming live, and we will not be streaming, we will not be recording committee meetings either. So it'll be physically present for committee meetings, and it will be physically present with a recording posted afterwards in our board meetings. Realize that's how we operated prior to March of 2020.
I was just going to say, Mr. President, that for those of us that have advocated for streaming, we looked at the option. It was costly, it was overbearing on our staff, it was too much for the time period. And for anybody that's watching today but hadn't watched previously, it was a consideration, but through the evaluation of the location and what it would take to do it, is just not worth it. And we understand that that's just a concession we have to make for this time being.
Thank you. That is correct. Good assessment. All right. Let's talk enrollment. We're at about wrapping up summer term from a continuing ed workforce development standpoint. Again, the numbers are strong, a little bit short of what the goal they set for themselves, but the numbers are up over the previous 2 years from a workforce continuing ed standpoint. This is the non-credit instruction. If we look at fall for the continuing ed workforce development group, again, the numbers continue to move in the right direction. It's August 16th. Actually, today is August 17th. The report was prepared yesterday. So we're looking good from an enrollment standpoint there. If we switch to talk about our credit enrollment, this report also came from the 16th. Since that time, since this report was run, we have run our drop for non-payment process. And so we slipped a little bit date to date, but the re-enrollment process is well underway. I know John sent me that information. I think we're down to, we're up 2% instead of 3%. Is that correct? Correct. Using broad numbers. Okay. So we saw a little bit of dip. We always do. If you look at the chart, you can see exactly where drop for non-payment happened. It does this, and then it comes back up.
Trustee Hamel has a question.
Yes, sir.
I know we've done some work on this to try to prevent the dip here in the past.
Yep.
And I think was one of the last few semesters you were talking about how that was so much less than we've seen in the past.
Yes.
Is that right? Are we still seeing that same trend, or did we get the same results again, or?
The financial aid office primarily has utilized some new strategies to prevent students from being dropped by way of placing holds, financial aid holds on accounts for students who have made some progress on their financial aid, but maybe they haven't done all the things. So we have gotten better, I think, at putting a hold on them, keeping them, preventing them from being dropped so that they can continue on in the process. So they have continued to primarily make improvements in that area.
So we're still seeing that better improvement in that area.
Our teams have worked they've historically worked very hard, but the efforts that they're putting in place, yes.
Other sorts of outreach leading up to the drop.
And in terms of
by multiple offices.
Yeah, and in terms of previous years and the size of that drop, it is significantly less since that work has been undergone by Rachel's team.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Trustee Hamilton, it is reflection of the good work that our teams are doing to help students get into paid status so that their classes aren't dropped. And then, I mean, it's I think fairly well known when the drop, I mean, it's well communicated when the drop happens. And there is a little bit of a mad dash to, not only for the students who are dropped, but for students who might have said, I really want this window of time for that class instead of that window of time, but I signed up for what I could get. It opened up because somebody didn't pay their bill. I'm going to take that one. So it creates a little bit of a shuffle, but our teams have done a good job of getting students back in and so forth. So that area of campus is abundantly active, including a quick anecdote. We had a student outside our office the other day that Caitlin helped that was looking for the bursar's office that used to be across the hallway in our building. You may know where it is, right? And he was about the fact that his daughter told him that you've got to get to campus and pay my tuition bill by such and such a time or my classes will be dropped. And Caitlin, was another example of many of the employees that help somebody find where they got to get on campus to take care of it. And I mean, it's just, it's one of the challenges of how do we help students register early, get paid, get in paid status as early as possible, because, we don't want students' classes to be dropped for non-payment, but we also have found that leads to greater success and fewer students that, find themselves in a situation where they should have dropped their classes and didn't, and
That was my intent to
intend to return.
highlight that work and yeah, those happening.
it shows. They're doing a good job, doing a really good job. So enrollment's up. We're seeing the numbers pick back up again following drop. Generally what we see in July, early mid-July, is about where we'd expect to be at the start of the semester. It's about what we're seeing right now. So anyways, last thing I want to hit just real quick is all of the work that's happening across campus to get us ready to go for classes that start on Monday. Everything that our facilities team doing, from a ground standpoint to final construction projects, getting those buttoned up, the work on parking lots and so forth that we've talked about, they're working hard to make sure campus is physically ready to go come Monday. Our IS team, together with our audiovisual team, AV team, they are working really hard to make sure that everything's ready to go from a technology standpoint on campus. So, physical plant, technology, our team and the student success team is working hard to serve students everything from advising to financial aid to access services. They're open on Saturday from 9 to 2 to help students who need services. They'll be ready to go. Academic Affairs is working to fill last-minute needs from a teaching standpoint. Our faculty have been working hard around advising and mentoring and making sure that prerequisites are met. It's the mad dash literally to the start of the semester that is well underway. Welcome Week starts next week, and we have everything from grab-and-go food tables on Monday and Tuesday to activities on campus to interact and meet students on Tuesday, an ice cream social on Wednesday. Gear Up for game day is a way that they're promoting our athletic teams and the opportunities that students have to participate in and watch teams compete. And then finally, they also have, I think on Thursday, a lunchtime trivia program. So again, all these ways to help students engage, and frankly, to the comment that was made earlier, help our students find ways to feel that they belong here right out of the gate. So that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Bound. Any questions for Dr. Bound? Comments? Yes, ma'am. Trustee Rattan.
I'd just like to say that I attended your State of the University address, and the keynote speaker, I think that you did a great job sharing the information and the good news, as well as the work that we need to do to keep our university great, our campus great.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I will include the script from that in my weekly update to you this weekend.
Was that Joel Goldberg?
And Joel Goldberg was the keynote. He was, we will have access to the video of that and can share that out with you as well. He is a dynamic speaker, and while his career is broadcasting around athletics, and most currently in baseball, he spoke in a way that I've heard many faculty and staff talk about his message and how it resonated with them. They may or may not be baseball fans, but he talked to the human experience. And the interesting note about him, his mother went back to college when her kids were a little bit old. I think she was in her 30s, if I remember this story correctly, what he shared with me, or shared with all of us. And that his brother was a dean and then vice president in the community college world at Mount Hood Community College, and then eventually at Portland Community College. And he's now a consultant who travels the world helping community colleges. So anyways, the team did a great job in fact, it was specifically Susan Hoffman in the staff development team who had recommended him. And so they did a great job. And Tomorrow's going to be equally strong, looking at the future of higher education and community colleges. Dr. Burns is, the organization she works for is somewhat of a parallel to the League for Innovation in the university space. So she'll be well-founded in what she has to share with us tomorrow. So that's 1 o'clock in Yardley Hall, and you're invited to come. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
all that out of that simple question, sorry.
Trustee Smith Everett.
I had one comment that I didn't want to forget. Can we please change the name of Quick Step Plus to college algebra? So everybody knows what that is. That's it. I'll keep bringing it up until it
There you go.
happens.
Is it unique to
I agree.
college algebra?
Yes.
It's the delivery mechanism for college algebra that makes it different than College Now.
You want to make a motion?
Yes, and it will hold no water because there's nothing I can do about it. But yes, I make
We
the
have new
motion.
business coming up.
I really thought that my colleague, who has shared my views over the years, Trustee Smith Everett, was going to ask to change the name of the office of the Bursar to something intelligible.
It was a coin flip on which one to bring up,
Right.
so I just went with the college algebra one.
It's one of the greatest lines in Hamilton. Punch the bursar.
It is a barrier for some kids because they don't know what those things are and their families don't either. And that's another way that higher ed intimidates people who are not used to going to college. So either one, both and. There we go. Change them both, please, by next week. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? I will just note and thank you and your staff, again, particularly Dr. McLeod, Lisa Waldman, everybody that worked. Just because students weren't here and there was less traffic, there was a lot of work this summer at, what do we call it, the drivers, the new
CLD?
CDL.
CDL program?
I get nervous in the moment. Nancy Ingram doesn't think I have nervousness, and it's like, I'm human. And then with Panasonic and everything, and you know, as chair, I have the unique perspective to oversee it all. So I know you worked hard this summer, and we appreciate everything you do.
Thank you. Team has worked hard.
The next item on our agenda is new business. I think Trustee Smith Everett has a motion. Nope. All right. So any new business? Seeing none. Any old business? The next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. Is there any item on the consent agenda that anybody would like to take separately? If not, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second?
Motion has been made by Trustee Ingram and seconded by Trustee Smith Everett. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it unanimously. The next item on our agenda is to go into executive session. It's just the one executive session. I had asked for this. I thank the trustees for entertaining it. So I'd like to entertain a motion to go into executive session to protect trade secrets and the inner workings of the college with respect to a contractual partner for the purposes of expanding credit and workforce development opportunities. No action will be taken during the session. The executive session will last, Dr. Brown and I talked for 45 minutes. Is everyone okay with that? Or do they think we need more time? Beginning at what time? 7:10? 7:15?
7:15, please.
7:15, concluding at 8 o'clock, at which time open session will resume at this location. We'd like to invite Dr. Bound, Dr. McLeod, Richard Lears, Lisa Waldman, and Kelsey Nazar to join this executive session.
I'd so move.
Moved by Trustee Musel and seconded by Trustee Hamel. We'll start at 7:15.
Need to vote.
We need to vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Motion carries. We'll see you at 8 o'clock. We're back from executive session in which no action was taken. And at this time, I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been moved by Trustee Rail, and seconded by trustee Ingram. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you all.
Good weekend.